through photos as is.
Alright,
If
good afternoon.
I can skip and you can be in the picture, then you can do this for me.
Today I will be taking you on memorandums. So to start off, we're going to be going over why our memorandum is important. We're going to be going over formatting, and most importantly, we're going to be going through an example. So what is the official memorandum is a larger general overview. What we talk about in ROTC is often a misnomer. We often say MFR when we mean a memorandum. MFR is a specific subset of the memorandum, and it actually includes 3 formats, none of which we really use in ROTC. One key difference is it omits the use of the from line. So in the typical memorandum, you would have a from, who it's from, and in the case of a MFR or a memorandum for record, you omit that. Now the reason you would utilize an MFR instead of just the official memorandum format is because you're trying to have a more compact note. And there's different variations, all with varying lengths and formalities. Now, the more important one is the endorsement format. So why do you need the endorsement format? The endorsement format is utilized when signatures are required, or when acknowledgement of reception is also required. So basically, you need to get something approved, or you need acknowledgement that it has been received. That's when you would utilize the official endorsement format. Another subset of the official memorandum is AAR, or After Action Report, which is utilized to report on results of actions, operations, or missions. Basically, what did we do? How did it go? There's also other memorandum subsets. I encourage you to go check out the technical and look out for this. So why do we need memorandums? It is an official written record of an event, a decision, or action. It's keeping a written record of what we have done. It informs single or multiple users or receivers. It can go up or down the chain of command. It can be with or between organizations. So the example I put up here is the detachment 002 uniform policy. So going from top to bottom, we see memorandum for that 002 cadets, being all of you. It is from Air Force ROTC Det 2 Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Harrison. And what is the subject? It is the cadet uniform policy. And we go to the first point. This memorandum establishes the AFROTC Det 002 uniform policy. Boom, right there. You know what the purpose of this memorandum was for. You know who it's from, you know who it's for, and you know why it's being made. So, formatting. The ultimate source for formatting is the tongue and quill. Now, can anyone tell me how you can get access to the tongue and quill?
EPUB website?
Huh?
EPUB website?
Yeah. So, perfect. So, EPUBs should have the most up-to-date version of the tongue and quill. We also have it in the cadet drive, but the tongue and quill is the most up-to-date, or the EPUBs should have the most up-to-date version in case it ever gets changed. I recommend you utilize Microsoft Word. So there's a couple different features that vary from Google Docs and Microsoft Word. You'll have the best and easiest experience properly formatting your memorandum if you utilize Microsoft Word. And you do have access to it because you are across town at CSUSB or you go to CSUSB. And your school should provide you free access to Office 365 so you can use Microsoft Word, so please use it. Another thing I recommend is utilize the ruler. So this will be at the top, and it'll basically make it a lot easier when you're trying to keep track of. Then I center it 3.5 inches from the left margin, stuff like that. And over here, what these two images it's telling you how to fix, I'd say, what causes 50% of the problems I see with memorandums, where the bullet points and sub-bullet points aren't really properly being aligned to the superseding point, or there's not 2 spaces in between the period. I see a lot of memorandums where there's a whole tab space after the period. That's incorrect. And that'll happen if you utilize just plain Google Docs. So I'm gonna actually get into an example where I can actually show you all this stuff in working action. And feel free to stop me at any point in time if you have a question. All right, so this is a template. You all should have access from it from the gym pin. I believe I made a folder, it should be up to date, you have access to this document. So, starting from the top. So, one of the key differences that Google Docs versus Microsoft Word, and why I say to utilize Microsoft Word, is the font at the top is specifically copper plate Gothic. And it actually is described specifically from the tongue and code. Google Docs does not have this font. So we go down one line below that. We're gonna have flush with the right margin, we're gonna have the date. Now, it is in this format, so you spell out the month. So some people, I see them abbreviate it to the for the first 3 digits for the date format. That's incorrect. So at the top, according to the tongue and code, you're supposed to utilize the full thing. Second, 2 lines below that, you're gonna have the memorandum for line. So in the case of a memorandum for record, or MFR, it would actually say memorandum for record. It wouldn't be for anybody else. You wouldn't put anything else. So this describes what this memorandum is for. So while we're at the detachment, we're gonna use the unit symbol, or the organizational symbol. So in this case, it's going to AFROTC Det to A5 TPO, which in this case is my boss, Cadet Captain Fernandez. So this is a memorandum for her. Now, who's this from? We go 2 lines below that. There's a line in between them. We're gonna get who it's from. So it's coming from me. So we're gonna utilize my organizational symbol, or AFROTC Det to A5 TPA. Now, if you don't know what the organizational symbol is, I recommend you go to the O plan, and it has a very nice listing of all the organizational symbols. Now, below that, we're gonna have the subject. And the subject is title case, which means everything that isn't an article, so we're not talking about ofs, does, and, is gonna be capitalized, the first letter of each word. Below that, we're gonna have our first main point, which is a 1. Now you'll notice here that there's gonna be 2 spaces from the period before it gets to the first letter in the line. So that's what I was talking about with the previous imaging. Basically, bullet points get messed up oftentimes when you first do it. So there's utilizing those images that were shown on the slides, which you should have access to. I recommend you go through there, highlight the bullet points or the sub points and main points that are causing issues and not following format, and you input all those parameters the exact same way that it's on there, and that should fix it. And that'll allow it to have no spaces in between here, which means you can control it, and you can manually put those 2 spaces, make sure it's not a tab character, and make sure that the text wraps properly. So by text wrap, I mean the second line below that, it has to wrap to the left margin. So the margins are 1 inch on both sides. Now we're going to talk about subpoints. So subpoints, there's a golden rule of you would never use a 1 without a 2, and you would never use an A without a B. Meaning, if you're just putting a subpoint A, you need to adjust how you're writing it and how you're transmitting that information in order to get it all within a major point instead of just putting 1 subpoint. Or you got to find another way to have another point. Now, these subpoints, these are the ones that I see typically that are messed up. So you'll see this A is aligned exactly with the first letter of the superseding point. So the letter A is aligned with the capital F in first main ID. And this goes for every subpoint. So as you go further and further below, you're gonna look to the superior point, and you're gonna align it with that. Now, sig blocks. Signatures are aligned 3.5 inches from the left margin. Or, yes, you'll see on the second line, you'll have their name, middle, and last, all in capital. And we're gonna get into the endorsements. So endorsements, to run real quick. Now you'll see this one occasionally, and it looks really long, it looks kind of complicated. But basically, this is when an endorsement would be cut off normally. So what you would do is you would utilize this format up here. So I recommend you look at the document later on, and you see this, follow this format on top in yellow, and it'll tell you exactly how you utilize any separate page endorsement. This is utilize when you're starting a new page, and it basically prevents someone from copying a page and saying that, oh, Major Whitlock signed, gave me signature for this, or she gave me signature for this and this, and so on. So this is the format for the separate page, and below that you'll see what is typically the endorsement format for all other cases when it's not a separate page, where it's just a comma and all that. Now, unfortunately, I don't have time to show you all the little nooks and details, but I recommend you look at the slides, which you should have access to. In conclusion, I went over why our memorandum is important formatting, and I went a little bit through the examples. Sources. This concludes my briefing. For the time for questions.